The TPPA is a proposal to extend an existing agreement New Zealand has with Brunei, Singapore and Chile. But the negotiations also include Australia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Peru, the United States. And of course, having the United States in there makes it huge. The negotiations are held in secret. We don't see the drafts of the text of the agreement. So what I'm telling you is partly from leaks, partly from media speculation, partly from what we know from other agreements these countries have signed. It's not mainly about trade at all. Most of the tariffs amongst these countries have gone. The restrictions on goods trade, most of them are gone. They've been negotiated away in other areas such as the World Trade Organisation. The chief New Zealand negotiator made a statement in private. He said, there is a public perception a United States free trade agreement would be an El Dorado for New Zealand's commercial sector, but the reality is different, and New Zealand must manage expectations about the benefits of such an agreement. So, if we do get any area access or whatever, we will have to pay for it in other ways, and there's a whole list of other parts of the agreement which have nothing to do with goods trade. So the first one I want to talk about, and this is quite recent, it's on a whole chapter on state-owned enterprises. State-owned enterprises are things like electricity companies, solid energy in New Zealand, but more than that, it can be things like ACC, it could be anything owned by the government and run by the government. The United States wants provisions on these in the agreement. They want to enforce state-owned enterprises, and think electrical, think ACC, think possibly even CRI, Crown Research Institutes, whatever you like, to act solely in accordance with commercial considerations. Right? So they should have no non-commercial goals, no public interest goals, for example. For example, directions from government that are inconsistent with this agreement. Electricity SOEs from helping technology startups, which is one of the ideas that the Green and Labour have, prevent them preferring locally built, for example, the rail wagons for New Zealand Rail, prevent them favouring local suppliers, prevent them having relatively low profit requirements so that the rest of the country can benefit from low electricity prices, for example, and prevent them, for example, from giving incentives for sustainable energy. It would ban low-cost funding. So when the government started up Kiwibank, for example, it put some capital in to start it up. That would be seen as a subsidy, if you like, to Kiwibank, and they don't want that to happen. They would require government to reduce its asset ownership, so progressively sell off its assets. And this is a requirement of Singapore and the Singapore-US Free Trade Agreement. It could apply to a whole range of state-owned entities, including ACC, Pharmac, Zespri, Public Broadcasting, Postal Services, and many other government services, anything that conceivably could be in competition with a US transnational wanting to do business in New Zealand. The United States, in its usual, what shall I say, hypocritical thing, thank you, I was looking for that phrase, will be requiring exemptions for its own SREs. And this is not my imagination. So basically it wants to say this applies to you but not to me. But most importantly, it wants to impose a provision called investor-state dispute resolution, which is particularly threatening. What that does is it allows investors to directly sue the government if their profits are threatened or the value of their assets are threatened. There's going to be fierce resistance from Vietnam and Malaysia who have large and many and very important SOEs, and Singapore probably will be pretty unhappy too, although it's already tied up. The ultimate target, as I said, is actually seen to be China. And for that reason, China has said, we're not happy with this agreement. we seem to be on the outer on this. We're not, we haven't been consulted over it. But quite fundamentally, China will not enter an agreement like this. And so it's been seen more and more as actually an anti-China lineup, if you like. So it is getting a foreign policy dimension, if you like, that threatens to increase tensions in the Pacific region rather than be a kind of a partnership, as it's called.